In 9th-century Baghdad, the translation of Greek manuscripts was driven by a specific technical requirement. It functioned as a system of active knowledge acquisition rather than a passive archive of the past. Scholars like Kindi treated these ancient texts as tools to solve a crisis in Mutazilite theology. They needed a way to reconcile the rigorous logic of the Greeks with the specific requirements of Islamic monotheism. The primary obstacle was the Aristotelian cosmos. Aristotle's physics describes a universe that is a perpetual, geometric system, one that has always existed and has no starting point in time. This stood in direct opposition to 9th-century Islamic theology, which required a universe that was finite, created from nothing, and dependent on a single absolute creator. On a mechanical level, these two systems were incompatible. You could not accept Aristotelian physics without also accepting an eternal universe, which would invalidate the core of the theological model. Abu Yusuf Yaqub ibn Ishaq al-Kindi addressed this in his work on First Philosophy. He attempted to build a logical bridge between these systems by treating Greek philosophy as a set of axioms that could be re-engineered. Al-Kindi's method used the internal logic of Greek mathematics to identify structural contradictions in Aristotle's own cosmology, shifting the study of metaphysics toward a model that demanded a beginning to time. To begin his proof, Al-Kindi had to establish a definition of the creator satisfying Greek logic. This required modeling God as a pure singularity, an entity with no internal parts or multiplicity. He used Porphyry's isagogy, a system for classifying predicates. A genus contains multiple species. A species contains many individuals. An individual has multiple body parts. Every category inherently implies a mixture of unity and multiplicity. A first cause cannot fall into any of these categories, possessing matter, form, or quantity, as these introduce multiplicity. This leaves the true one. Not a genus, species, or parts, it is a pure unity outside standard rules of description. In this model, Islamic monotheism is presented not as a matter of faith, but as the logical result of Greek categorical classification. After defining the creator, Al-Kindi turned to the mechanism of creation. In Aristotle's system, God is a final cause, the goal that inspires motion. But Al-Kindi needed an efficient cause to bring things into existence. In standard Aristotelian physics, change is a transition from privation to form. This requires a substrate, a pre-existing subject. For a cold object to become hot, the object itself must already exist as a foundation. Al-Kindi adopted a critique from John Philoponus to modify this formula for creation ex nihilo, bringing a universe into being from nothing. He deletes the pre-existing substrate, making origination a direct change from non-being to being. Since there is no physical substrate to process or transition, this creative act occurs instantaneously, requiring no time to be realized. By removing the substrate requirement from the physics of change, Al-Kindi turned a theological concept into a structurally sound metaphysical mechanism. This led to Al-Kindi's final target, the Aristotelian doctrine that the universe has always existed. He used Aristotle's own rule against him, the principle that an actual infinity, a set with an infinite number of real members, cannot exist. Aristotle allowed for potential infinities, where a finite line can be divided into smaller parts indefinitely, without reaching an infinite number of divisions. Al-Kindi contrasted this with an actual infinity, where the infinite set is completely present at once. He noted the cosmos has a finite spatial size. Because the universe is spatially limited, nothing predicated on its physical body can be infinite. Time is a predicate of the physical universe. If the world were eternal, an actual infinity of moments has already elapsed. But to arrive at the present, an infinite amount of time must be traversed, which is impossible. Therefore, time must have a finite starting point. Al-Kindi used Aristotle's own mathematical constraints to show that an eternal universe is a physical and logical contradiction. We can now see the metaphysical structure Al-Kindi built. At the top sits the true one, a pure, irreducible singularity. This creator brings existence from non-being through instantaneous origination. The result is a universe strictly bounded in space and time. This was a methodological shift. Al-Kindi argued that the pursuit of truth was a universal requirement, regardless of where that truth originated. He took the components of Greek logic, tested them for structural integrity, and integrated the surviving pieces into a model that supported his theological conclusions. Al-Kindi established a precedent for the Islamic Golden Age. He demonstrated that rigorous mathematical logic was not an alternative to faith, but the primary tool used to define it.